Good morning, everybody. We have a higher trade in the grain markets here early on Thursday morning. It is 6:30 a.m. Central Time. December corn futures up 1.5 at 550.5. November soybeans up 7.5 cents at 1368.5. September Chicago wheat up 6.25 at 695. September Kansas City wheat up 7.5 at 667. September spring wheat up 11 cents at 914.75. If you guys are listening on the podcast, as always, really appreciate it. Leave me a review, leave me a rating if you have not already. I appreciate you guys who have left me reviews and ratings. There have been a lot more coming in here as of late. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you like these videos. Help me by helping YouTube to spread these videos around. And subscriptions are growing, views are growing, but my goal is to get up to 5,000 subscribers. We're almost halfway there, and I think we can do it by the end of the year, certainly. If you need some additional assistance from me, go to my website. It is www.standardgrain.com. Go to that website, click on Grain Marketing Plan in the upper right-hand corner for $49 a month. I send a ton of information out to my subscribers. You get an email every morning from me. I wake up early. I put this thing together every single morning. It includes every overnight headline that you need to be aware of, all my grain marketing recommendations, all sorts of interesting charts and graphics, a lot about weather this time of year in particular. You'll get my text message service. You'll get my subscriber-only videos, which are videos in which I really get into detail in regard to grain marketing, grain markets, things to be aware of when it comes to those items. So certainly check this out. This is a monthly subscription billed to your credit card automatically. You can cancel it at absolutely any time, no questions asked. There is no other service that you need to have. You don't need a trading account, nothing like that. So certainly check that out, guys. We had our Eia Ethanol Report out yesterday, and ethanol production did decline slightly last week. Weekly output 1.014 million barrels per day. That was down about 1.4% on the week, down 1.6% versus the same week in 2019. Despite the small decline, weekly output has been above a million barrels per day for, I think, 11 consecutive weeks now. So most, and myself included, would argue that ethanol production is essentially back to normal following a very messy 2020 due to COVID. Ethanol stocks continue to trend higher. They were up about 1 percentage point on the week. Gasoline demand was up just marginally on the week, down about 2.5% versus the same week in 2019. Remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we had a record high print in regard to gasoline demand. So most of the stuff is back to normal. And guys, I talk about this every week because ethanol represents such a tremendous portion of our demand base for corn, and it's been kind of volatile here these last couple of years, so it's certainly worth paying attention to. You know, in the past, you never really saw a ton of volatility in regard to ethanol production. It had been kind of just steady, but we've seen a couple different events, COVID, and then we had that big kind of winter weather deal here earlier this year that have made things kind of messier, a little bit messier for ethanol. The North Dakota Spring Wheat Tour continued yesterday. The Wheat Quality Council found crops that were well below average in the northwest quarter of the state. No surprise there, amid drought and severe heat. The tour estimated average yields in this area at 24.6 bushels per acre versus 40.8 in 2019, and the 5-year average of 42.4. Again, there was no tour last year due to COVID. This was a quote from one of the scouts on the tour. The good wheat was wherever the thunderstorm was. We saw good wheat on one side of the road and bad wheat fields on the other. The tour will move into the northeastern portion of the state today, and I believe they will release final tour estimates for the state this afternoon. I'm pretty sure it's this afternoon. U.S. Corn Belt will cool down this week. On average, over the next 5 days, you're going to see much cooler temperatures move into the Corn Belt, and a lot of the Corn Belt's actually going to be below normal in terms of temperatures this weekend. Now, you're going to see above normal temperatures persist, but to a lesser degree in the northern plains and the southern plains to some extent. In regard to rainfall, your 7-day Weather Prediction Center map offers rains for parts of eastern Nebraska, southwest Iowa, Missouri, southern South Dakota, in addition to parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Your Euro model brings some rain, and quite a bit of rain really, into Iowa, Illinois, eastern Nebraska, and southeast South Dakota beginning early next week. The GFS confirms some of that, but keeps the rains further south. So again, you've got a little bit of weather model conflict here, which has been kind of the case. So I don't know if I'd call the forecast bullish or bearish. It's kind of a mixed bag here. USDA confirmed African swine fever in the Dominican Republic. The news fuels concerns, of course, that the disease could move to the United States. The Dominican Republic is only about 700 miles from the Florida coast. The Florida tests, positive tests, came from 2 farms that were separate geographically. The U.S. Right now and for a long time has not allowed pork imports from the Dominican Republic as a result of another existing disease. But this raises concern, of course, because if you were to somehow, some way see the arrival of this disease in the United States, it is potentially devastating for not only the hog sector, but also for feed demand. I mean, we saw what happened in China a couple of years ago. They lost half their hog herd. Their usage of soybean meal and other feed products was drastically reduced. It was partially because of that China was able to stop buying beans from the U.S. during the trade war because it happened during this ASF outbreak. So this is certainly something to be aware of, a little bit too close to home here. The Fed kept its benchmark overnight lending rate near zero. No surprise here. No rate hike was expected going into this. The committee said in a statement that the economy continues to strengthen, but that the Fed is nowhere near considering a rate hike. So they're not even talking about it here. Substantial further progress on inflation and employment is the benchmark that the Fed has set prior to tightening its policies. The statement noted that progress has been made in regard to these efforts, and some saw that word in quotes progress as an indicator that perhaps changes to the monthly bond purchases are on their way. The Fed purchases $120 billion per month in bonds, and has done so for months and months and months. And tapering would be, reducing those asset purchases. And we haven't got there yet, but a lot of people think that that'll be the first thing to come from the Fed. U.S. equity markets were not changed really much at all in the news yesterday. We have an export sales report this morning. At 7:30 a.m. Central, old crop corn sales should be slightly negative to maybe 300 positive, 100 to 300 for new crop. So really nothing impressive being expected here. Old crop soybean sales, negative to maybe slightly positive expected. New crop sales, 200 to 400 expected. Wheat sales, 350 to 600 expected. Tomorrow is first notice day for August soybean futures, meal futures, and soybean oil futures. If you have any remaining open positions there, make sure you take a look. Cattle market was a mixed bag in the fat cattle and slightly lower in the feeder cattle yesterday. I don't think there's been much in terms of cash trade, maybe some 119 to 120. We'll see what develops here later this week or potentially today. The box beef market was up sharply yesterday, up $3.43, and the choice box is up $2.18 in the select boxes. In the outside markets, the S&P 500 is up 4 points, the Dow's up 112, U.S. dollar is lower, bonds about flat, gold's up $27 this morning, silver sharply higher as well. If you guys need some more information, shoot me an email, info@standardgrain.com. Everybody have a great day.